Hi, how's it going? Today I'm gonna talk a little bit about the difference between the jazz piano and the Brazilian piano. And I recommend this live a lot for you that if you like Brazilian music, because some people will just say that the difference is on rhythm, but there are a lot of conceptual details that makes all the difference. So if you watch this live, your hearing, your listening won't be the same after that, alright? And I would like to start by the harmony. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the harmony in Bossa Nova, that people thinks as the same thing from jazz, and in many situations is very similar from jazz, but there are some subtle differences that if you pay attention you're gonna realize more after that. I'm gonna use, for example, this situation that is the B section of the song Wave, where many people play G minor 7, C7, F major 7. After that, F minor 7, B flat 7, and E flat major 7. So the two sequence of 2 5s, the 2 5 of F major and the 2 5 of E flat major. Repeating a little bit: G minor 7, C7, F major 7, F minor 7, B flat 7, and E flat. So a lot of people thinks is this, but here in Brazil we play G minor 7, C7, and F major with A on bass. Okay, after that we can play B flat sus, B flat with A flat on bass, and E flat with G minor on bass. This harmony comes from an influence of the harmony of this style called choro. And choro takes advantage to connect harmonies by the bass, using the most of neigbour tones it can. So let me show you a little bit. G minor 7, C7 with B flat on bass. So we come to F major 7 with A on bass. So the bass does this. And after that, B flat, we just walk it one step. B flat when with A flat on the bass. Alright. E flat major with G on bass. That is a very common that is a very common harmony in jazz that we can find that in Brazilian. I've discovered a very interesting situation. It's this harmony that is a song called Lapinha by Baden Powell, one of my favorite composers. And there is a sequence F minor, B flat 7, E flat major, A flat 6, D half diminished, G7. So this is a very common harmonic progression. Very common, many people plays, and I see often Brazilian musicians playing this Baden Powell's song wrongly, because Baden Powell saw another opportunity of changing these chords. So besides doing F minor, he does D flat with B on bass. After that he does B flat 7. Besides doing E flat major, he does E flat major with D flat on bass. And after that A flat with C on bass. And so the harmonies becomes more common. But note the difference. I'm gonna play the first. This is very subtle, but if you have difficulties, hear more times this progression. Alright, I recommend you to listen more times this piece of the return on the video and hear again. Alright, there are more situations. For example, the first chord in some recordings of João Gilberto, for example, besides he do the first major 7, he starts with the first, but with the third on bass. So besides starting, he starts with this chord. That is the first chord of the Girl from Ipanema. I think he uses the 6th. It's not a major 7th chord. It does a little bit different. So hear Bossa Nova again and see if you can recognize some details, different details on the progressions. If you play them together, you're gonna realize that it's not the same that it's written on real book, for example, and many other situations, or many other lead sheets. Alright, so harmony changes strongly, and we are just talking about Bossa Nova. Let's talk a little bit about the rhythm. In jazz, I think the left hand, talking about the left hand when we are doing some solos, the left hand is often used to create a counterpoint with rhythm with the right hand when in terms of when we are playing in trios, for example, and sometimes to make an accent. And in Brazilian music, the left hand can be used rhythmically as ostinato. For example, if you're playing a samba, you can create a rhythmic layer based on this. And you can use, I'm showing just this, but I recommend you to hear, for example, the pianist Fábio Torres, the pianist César Camargo Mariano. They have a very strong and rich use of the left hand when doing this kind of comping when playing trios. When we are talking about rhythm in jazz, when we are comping, it's not my sorry. I apologize for the jazz players. I know that there are a lot of jazz players watching this, and they can say, but he's not playing very good. And I admit that's not my specialty. I play jazz here in Brazil, but I know that I don't know very deeper the language, because I want that my sounds Brazilian. So when we are trying to improvise, and when we are doing rhythm, we are based in some pattern. We don't need to play this pattern the whole time, and we can play freely inside that pattern, but there is some rhythmic pattern that's guiding us inside. So, for example, when we are playing bossa nova, note that I did a lot of rhythms, but I had a basis. And I don't have to play this basis all the time, but I'm feeling it all the time. All right. So I see some foreign musicians that they play the pattern all measures, and this can create the sensation of we become bored with that. So we have some kind of clave rhythm, but we are trying to play freely inside the clave. All right. For example, if I'm comping, I don't do we play. So we are inside, but sometimes outside. We are dancing with the rhythm, all right, through the rhythm. It's better to say this. One thing that I see foreign musicians, that they often doesn't give attention to the melodies, and this is as an aspect that the Brazilian musicians see a lot of value, because we have a lot of good melodists. The Brazilian music didn't started, in the case of bossa nova, didn't started as an instrumental music. So there are important details that the different musicians repair, that they it's not repair, I'm sorry for the it's not this word, but they see if you know a song, or they know that you know a sound for the melody that you play. If you know there's some important details in that melody, and sometimes some people will ignore that, and these details often are very important for that song. So the melody is very important for us, and I realize, say if I'm wrong, jazz players, all right, but the melody in some kinds of jazz, it's just a pretest to improvise. uh, I'm giving an example of the song Ten Up, for example. It's a very simple melody that you don't need to play it exactly, all right, and it's the important part of the song. It's um, the improvise, and here in Brazil, it's most of the times. It's important to say that we have also very influenced by jazz musicians, that they sound more jazzy. But if you hear a more Brazilian school, you're gonna realize that they see value in playing the melodies with all the notes, or in some of the repetitions, the musician shows that he or she knows that details of the melody. This is very essential in our music, all right? After that, tell me if you are agree or disagree with me, all right? Um, all right. So learn the melodies with details. Play play them with the recording. I've learned songs from when I was younger by the real book, and till today I correct my melodies. I see some opportunities. I'm hearing, oh, this note is not perfectly, and I use. It's not a way to be to how can I say. Um, I'm not stuck in the real melodies. I improvise. I do some variations, but I'm telling you that sometimes you lose some important detail in that song. So uh, pay attention in the melodies. All right. What else we can say about the difference about the piano, jazz piano and Brazilian piano? Let's talk about. Let me see here. I have this. Um, uh, I'm sorry. Well, jazz harmony, phrasing. I'm sorry. I had to say this before the live ends. And let's talk a little bit about the phrasing. Um, the phrasing in Brazilian music, it's different from jazz because of some aspects. We can talk about the rhythm and the notes that we choose in Brazilian music. In many styles of Brazilian music, the phrases are more diatonical. I don't know if the pronunciation is right, diatonical. And what I want to say with this is that we don't use so much chromatism like in jazz, double approximation, or in Brazilian music is much more made by scales and arpeggios, and we just use a little bit more of, for example, blue notes in bossa nova that has a more next influence by blues. But in the other styles we can use just the scales, and it's very difficult to start improvising just in the scales. Let me show a little bit. For example, I'm gonna play a baião. For example, baião, it's very similar from blues too. because it uses seventh chords, mixolydian and scales, but you can't use chromatisms, or you use a few situations of chromatisms. So this is very difficult for a jazz musician. I started playing more jazz than Brazilian music, so I had to clean my phrasing to get a more strong Brazilian accent. All right. The same thing happens in choro or in samba. And you're gonna see musicians, for example, from the 60s in Brazil, they often make their phrasing with a blues accent. But there was a movement in Brazilian music of musicians that were searching for a Brazilian phrasing, and so they avoid the same solutions that blues was, when blues and jazz was thinking in that decade. So if you're improvising a samba, for example, so you're seeing a more samba phrasing without. I just use one chromatism in this phrasing, in the whole phrasing, and jazz would use much more than this. All right. Talking about also one aspect that musicians don't realize when they are when they study Brazilian music, when they play Brazilian songs, is that they think they can just make phrases of jazz inside a Brazilian song. It's very far from that, because to sound Brazilian, the rhythms of the phrases has to be inside of the Brazilian language. If you use some specific divisions, you're gonna sound much more inside that language. In samba, for example, I used much more the syncopations. Phrases ending on anticipations of 16. Anticipations of 8 notes. For example, are very typical in the language of samba, and I see many musicians improvising just 16 notes. I'm telling 16 notes and not 8 notes because we think Brazilian music often in 2/5 meter, not 4/4 meter. So we think another way, and I see many jazz musicians, when they play Brazilian songs, they play and we make quick fast phrases, but the base of our improvise is made of specific rhythms of that style. All right. Here in this channel I talk about the different styles and what rhythms to use in the melody, what rhythms to use in the comping. And so if you want to see more, I strongly invite you to see my videos that you can search in YouTube. There are more than 600 videos talking about the different aspects in Brazilian music. Let me see if I have more to say here. Rhythm, melody. I think that's it. Phrasing. And other thing that's interesting, we can talk about a little bit of accent also. So the depending on the percussion of the style you are playing, you can imitate the accent of the phrasing using some percussion instruments as bass. For example, I was hearing a Baião song. Note that phrase, it's just. But if we put rhythm, we put some ghost notes, articulation. For example, to the pen, I'm imitating the triangle that's played on Baião, for example. And so you can create a lot of interesting phrases based on the percussion. I don't think jazz does this in the common songs, alright, in the standards, alright? But that's what I wanted to say for today. I hope you have enjoyed this live, and if you want to know more about some specific styles or some specific language, I invite you to follow my channel and write in the comments, send me your doubts. I'm gonna have pleasure to answer you and to help you in this process of learning Brazilian music and playing in an authentic way. I appreciate your audience. Muito obrigado. Tchau, tchau.